Hello and welcome to Rulebreaker. Today we're going to take a look at the Necrovirus now that the Prophecy of Kings expansion has been released for Twilight Imperium 4th edition. We're going to focus on their leaders and mechs and a few other little trinkets from the expansion box itself that change a little bit of some of the stuff that they can do, and we will get into that shortly. Just a reminder, the Necrovirus are all about stealing technology from other players, particularly faction technologies. They can steal 2 of those. What you'll need from the Prophecy of Kings box, other than the new cards, are these 3 tokens. They have gravity rifts on one side of them, and if you are familiar with the Vulwraith Cabal, they're basically a copy of their special gravity rift space docks that you can copy with Valifar simulators. We'll talk about that a bit later on, but you'll need those from the box when you're playing new games with the Necrovirus. But without further ado, let's take a look at the main stuff in the expansion, the leaders and mechs. So they have an agent called the Necromalion. Then they have a commander, Necro Acidos. And then they have a hero called Unit, the Recursive Tyrant, let's call it. And then they have a mech called Mordred. So let's take a look at these guys. So the agent has the ability, during the action phase, you may exhaust this card to choose a player. That player may discard 1 action card or spend 1 command token from their command sheet to gain 2 trade goods. So this is an exhaust ability. It means that you can do it once per round, and then it'll come back to you the next round. And choosing a player, it can be a different player, but most often it's going to be yourself. If you're in need of getting some extra trade goods, you've got a way to do it now. I think an action card is probably worth more than 2 trade goods most of the time. And likewise, I think a command token is worth more than 2 trade goods. But if you're in a pinch, you can do it. Maybe you want to save up to build a flagship or Warzone or something big. This is a way to make sure that you got enough to do that. As for Necro Acidos, their commander, this one unlocks when you own 3 technologies. A Valifar similar technology counts only if its X or Y token is on a technology. So I think basically that's just a kind of a catch for the fact that you start with 3 techs technically, even though these simulators don't have a use right away. You need to get involved in combat, stick these tokens down on an opponent's technology for them to be in effect. So effectively what this is saying is you get 2 more technologies from what you start with, because you've got stacks of animators as well at the start of the game. And because the Necro can't build technology the normal way, this is essentially saying blow up 2 ships and steal technology from people, really, is what you're doing there. And once you've done that, you take the card, you flip it over, and it becomes the ability, after you gain a technology, you may draw 1 action card. So this is an always on ability. It's not an exhaust action like the agent. It's something that just happens every time. And I really like this commander. I think it's good. Action cards give you a lot of benefits. They give you options, things that you can't normally do. They're unpredictable. You can hold on to them. You've got a hand limit though. So again, if you're hitting close to that hand limit and you're building a lot of technology, you can ditch some of the cards with the agent to get those trade goods. So you have use for the stuff that you don't even want. If you've got an action card that you don't want, throw it away for some trade goods. It's nice. It's pretty good. Bit of utility there. And that's also a nice one for encouraging other players to build technologies. I mean, they're going to want to do that anyway for scoring objectives, but it's an extra incentive for you to be in an alliance with them, because the Prophecy of Kings comes with new promissory notes for every player, where you can use each other's commanders essentially. So if you form an alliance with somebody, they're going to get lots of action cards for building technology. You'll probably want them to get technology, and you can attack them and steal the technology if you really want to. But that's an option there for you. You can entice people to be friendly with you, which is something that Necrovirus usually has a difficult time trying to do. Okay, so moving on to their hero, the Flash, unit design Flash maybe, the Recursive Tyrant. When you unlock This one you need to have scored 3 objectives, the same as any hero really in the game. And when you do that, you take the card, flip it over, and it becomes the Polymorphic Algorithm, which is an action. And that reads: choose a planet that has a technology specialty in a system that contains your units. Destroy any other player's units on that planet. Gain trade goods equal to that planet's combined resource and influence values, and gain 1 technology that matches the specialty of that planet. Then purge this card. So what you're doing here with this hero ability is you're flying some nasty ships into a system, and once those units are in the system, you're going to choose any other player's units on the planet and destroy them. So if somebody's got a bunch of PDS or infantry or mechs down on a planet, they're gone completely, they're completely destroyed, and then you get a bunch of trade goods depending on what the planet values are. So in the case of, say, this system, for example, if you fly some ships in and you choose Lazar, you'd only get 1 trade good. However, the real benefit there is this technology specialty symbol here, the yellow icon. You get to choose any technology in the deck that has that symbol on it. So that can be a unit upgrade, or it can be a standard technology, which is awesome because that gives you access to things like war zones if you don't already have them, if everybody's avoiding them so that you don't get them off them, for example. You've got another route to it, and it allows you to actually choose technologies that no player has, so it's the only access that you're going to get to some of them. If people are specifically avoiding them, they don't have a use for them, or they're specifically not researching them, so you don't get them. Now you can get them if you want, as long as you can get to a system that has one of the icons on it that you need. So that's great. That's access to a technology for the Necrovirus that they haven't had before. So there's a bit more diversity and opportunity for them there. So that's really cool. The fact that it's once per game, I think, is fair enough, really, when you see what it does. And again, that's another thing Necrovirus can do, hopefully, to score some objectives to do with technologies if they're stuck for getting that last one in a set. It's really good. So I think this is a really nice utility hero, and really powerful. Blows up everything on a planet. So it's pretty good. Seems very on brand for them. And then moving on to their Mech, Mordred, which has 2 costs, 6 combat and sustained damage, pretty standard. And it reads: during combat against an opponent who has an X or Y token on 1 or more of their technologies, apply +2 to the result of each of this unit's combat rolls. So sticking the knife in when you've already hurt somebody. When you have one of these little tokens down on one of your opponent's technologies, your mechs get +2 against them in combat. Simple as that. And I think that's a sneaky good action. That gives these guys combat hits on 4s, which is really good. That's a really good probability of doing hits, making these mechs pretty awesome against 1 or 2 enemies at the table. So not to be underestimated, Mordred here, this mech, really, really good. So the Necrovirus, not only do they have their own stuff, they have loads of other possibilities, right? They're combinations of things. We did a video about Necro combos for technology before, and you guys gave some hilarious suggestions of things that you can do that sound pretty broken when you look into it. Now they have the ability to copy technologies from all the new factions, Titans of Ul, the Nazroka Alliance, the Mahakt, even everybody, all the way through the new factions in the game, offering whole new possibilities. Rather than go through all of that now, what I'd like to do is ask everybody who's watching, who's played or has ideas of ways to do that. What would be the best combos to go for? So check the comments, see what people say. That'd be great. One very notable one, and one that has components in the game specifically to allow it to be possible, is these tokens that I mentioned at the start of the video. You can copy the Vulrate Cabal's space dock unit technologies, turning your space docks into gravity rifts, which are absolutely crazy. So you take damage if you fly away from them, but they speed you up. So a really unusual thing for the Necro to do, because the Vul rate are not affected by it. But it doesn't say that on their technology that the Necro are able to get away with that. So very interesting, risky play if you want to do it. But the components are here if you want to try it out, see what happens. Yeah, so that's Necro. I like this update. I think like the Necro are scary, right? They've always been scary. They like fighting, so they never have friends. I think that's changed a lot actually with this. The commander giving access to action cards kind of softens the blow for other players if they want to be your ally. This whole thing about giving trade goods for action cards, if you make friends with an Isarl Tribes player, for example, who has loads and loads of action cards and they need 2 trade goods, that could be a good deal in the making there. It's something that I never thought I'd say for the Necro, that they'd be involved in a deal, but I think they can do that now. Their mech is great. Their hero is really interesting, giving you that access to technology. So I think the Necro have become not just these menaces who punch everybody and steal their stuff. So they've added a new dimension to the Necrovirus, I think, with this expansion. That's something that's really good. One other small thing to note as well, I've been talking about the Twilight Imperium Codex while doing these videos. There are 2 race techs for the Necrovirus in the Twilight Imperium Codex, but they're actually only used in the Ordinian scenario, which is not the normal way of playing the game. It's a different way of playing the game, so I'm not going to cover those here, and we may do a video on the Ordinian scenario at a later date, but we'll save that for then. So if you have the Codex, you printed it out nice and shiny like these, you can ignore these in a standard game with the Necrovirus, so just keep them to one side. So that is it, and without further ado, we'll leave it there. Thanks for watching. Again, if you have any cool combos for the Necro technologies, especially the new factions, comment away in the video, and I'd look forward to seeing what you guys have to say. And if you've played as the Necrovirus, or more importantly against the Necrovirus since Prophecy Kings has come out, I'd love to hear your session reports in the comments as well. So thank you very much. I appreciate you sticking with the series. Plenty more to come. We'll see you very soon for the next one. Thank you very much.